The venture capitalist for its early investments in Pinterest, Airbnb, DraftKings lists AI as his top investment play right now. Rick Heitzmann is founder and partner of Firstmark Capital. Rick, great to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Obviously, you didn't deploy money yesterday. You didn't deploy money when Microsoft decided to buy a stake in ChatGPT. So when did you start seeing this as sort of the next wave? And in what way? Because AI has become such a buzzword now. So how are you investing?
So it became such a buzzword, but we saw that data was starting to be released. There were better data systems. That data then became a machine learning. So you could have algorithms around it or have software around it. And that led to AI, which is software learning from software. And probably about 5 or 7 years ago, as this got unlocked, there were different applications, so either horizontal AI, which does some jobs in the background of software applications, or vertical AI, which does jobs around search or writing college essays if you're ChatGPT, or whatever it may be. So that's been a long-term play for us, and now it's just starting to get hot again in the VC ecosystem.
How do you think, though, about the end user of AI in terms of when you talk to a company, who is their end user, and does a consumer end user versus a corporate end user make it hotter than the other?
Actually, a corporate end user makes it much hotter. So we have a company that processes billions of documents for the government every day in AI and takes all the forms from the DMV, from Social Security, and says, hey, I want to make sure Dan's really Dan. I want to make sure this is really his address. So just the processing of vast amounts of information is the best use of AI. And obviously, as you get someone like the Social Security Administration as a customer, that's a long-term customer. Much prefer that as opposed to people who are using AI as a toy.
Rick, what does it mean to you as a VC who's trying to deploy capital in an efficient manner, right, and being cognizant of valuations when you have companies like Google or Alphabet, like just 250 million here, 250 million there, you know what I mean, spreading it around, it probably makes your job a lot more difficult.
It makes it harder, but you talk about when did Google start? I think about 7 years ago, they bought a company called DeepMind, which they paid more per engineer. They bought it on, I think it was a $3.5 million per engineer basis. They had no product, they had no technology, and then generally venture capital said, this is the end. They just ruined the economics for everybody. We have to be out of this business. And we said, well, maybe that's not true. Maybe we should go back and really think about what's going on. But things like this we hope things stay very quiet for as long as possible. People get to build real businesses. And then when the giants come in and they feel like they're behind, it's a great time to sell.
When you take a look at the stock reaction, Alphabet's and Microsoft, what do you make of that? I mean, did Google really lose? I mean, was it so horrible what they unveiled that they warrant this drop?
I think as you put it well, there was a perception issue. So they've been working on AI for decades. And AI is such a general term that you could call really anything AI now. And so they've been working on it, but the panic, we have to call back our founders. We have to announce something that doesn't really work. We're being reactionary to Bing. I mean, that's not a sign of strength, right? I mean, old adage, lions don't sweat lambs. It's weird that Google's sweating Bing. So that's more of the emotional reaction that people are reacting to in the market.
Okay, Rick, always good to see you. Thank you.
Good seeing you. Thank you.
Heitzmann, Firstmark.
Lions don't sweat lambs, guy.
I know. I like that.
Why are you looking at me?
I don't understand. I'm just reminding you.
It's like an oldie-fashioned sort of saying that you might utter.
Better to spend one day as a lion than 1,000 days as a lamb. I think that's some sort of proverb. But
I think
think
you just
about
made that up.
No, I did not make that up. Go to your AI Google machine and check it out there, wise guy.
Except it probably wouldn't work.
I think Rick makes listen. I think he makes an interesting point. For me, it wouldn't work. His point about Google panicking here, that's exactly right. And they're paying for it in terms of market cap. But at a certain level, it becomes very compelling. The problem, of course, I've been saying that for a while, but out of the 4 or 5 big ones we talk about, that's the cheapest in the bunch.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I did buy a put spread near term. Satya Nadella, this is his sweet spot. When you listen to him talk about this and talk about a company a product that they have not been excited about, which is Bing in a very long time, and the way they're talking about integrating this. So that is, I think, long term, this is going to be a really important part. And I think he has done such an amazing job transforming this company over the last, 10 years or so. This is probably the next iteration of it. But again, I'm not sure you buy it, to Guy's point, 233 to 270 in a straight line after disappointing guidance off of something that is not going to materialize for a while.
I asked this before. Is this an Azure moment?
Well, they want it to be.
Transformation,
They want it to be. And they made this announcement as if this is, 2007, 2008, and here we go. I mean, I'll just throw this back and say this, for Google, they grew 32% on cloud in a quarter that people didn't expect them to grow that fast. That outperformed. I mean, what they're doing in cloud is arguably a threat to Microsoft, too. I would reiterate what both Rick said and I think we've said here, which is that we don't know where this is going. And Dan has said this, making a decision in 2 days. I love how, by the way, we've all reflected this. This could be an episode of Options Action. There was more options talk here Friday at 5:30 on CNBC.